Hello, everybody. This is a new episode of the Internet Paladins radio show. I am Jamal.
And I am the Spaniard, and we are in lovely Granada. One of us is in the studio, one of us is somewhere else at a mystery location. And if you guess
Indeed.
it, we will pay you $10 million. Okay, moving
And
along.
the Spaniard means he will pay $10 million because I didn't agree to that. And our studio manager didn't agree to that.
Nope.
Because our studio manager is me, and I didn't agree. So, $10 million. People are just going to grab an atlas and just shout out random names, and then eventually, you better get a part-time job, my friend. You're going to have to save up that $10 million.
And that scenario is just as strange and peculiar as some of the news that we would like to discuss with you, which Jamal will start us off with.
Yep. Now, when you think of people being arrested in Pakistan, what do you usually think about as being the cause?
Well, usually someone usually says something about Muhammad or something that they did or did not say, or something ridiculous. Usually, I'm guessing.
Well, in this case, the police made an arrest. There was a situation where the police were doing raids on homes in Lahore because some of the residents had not been paying for their electricity. So the police showed up to do a raid. And a gentleman by the name of Muhammad Musa Khan was arrested and booked on the charge of throwing stones at police officers and energy officials during the raids. So Mr. Khan was arrested and taken to court and charged with assault of police. But here's the thing. Mohammed Musa Khan is a 9-month-old baby.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
He was charged not with assault. I'm sorry, with attempted murder. A 9-month-old baby charged with attempted murder. He was fingerprinted, and he had to sit in the court on his grandfather's lap while drinking milk out of a bottle. And apparently, the judge took one look at him and was like, "This is ridiculous." But he has no power to dismiss the case for some reason in Pakistan, so he has to go through with the farce. So, what do you think of countries where they fear people so much that 9-year-old babies or 9-month-old babies are charged with attempted murder?
Well, see, the thing is, over there, everyone hates everyone else, basically. And there's this culture of mutual hatred. So, whenever there's an opportunity to get revenge on someone else, they'll seize upon it. And then this is why you get silly situations like this. Other situations, you'll have someone accused of tearing up a Quran or insulting Muhammad and stuff like that because they're easy things to accuse people of to get them in trouble. And this is obviously, a bridge too far. And I guess even the most corrupt of the corrupt are saying,
Well, yeah. Apparently, the police official responsible for pushing the charges has been suspended and is going to receive stern action, according to the Punjab chief minister, also named Muhammad. Big surprise, Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif. Is going to bring about stern action because apparently in Pakistan the age of criminal responsibility is 12. So not 9 months and 12 years. There's a slight difference between, just a bit. I mean, maybe if you're looking out of the corner of your eye, you can't tell. But if you study the children for a while, you can see.
Yeah.
But the best part of sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to mention that. Have you noticed that this always happens in the, quote, Islamic, unquote, countries? Like, for example, in Egypt or something, they'll put a stork on trial for being an Israeli spy or something like that. Like,
Yes.
just totally insane.
You just see like a bird just standing there in the courtroom looking around with interest in the proceedings.
And I think there's been a couple of other animals as well, I think.
I've heard of that too. I think a donkey was put on trial once
Yeah,
for kicking somebody in Mexico or something like that. I don't know.
yeah.
Your
It,
less reasonable cousins in Mexico do not
yeah.
seem to have sense sometimes.
But of course, we can't really just blame the so-called Muslim world because I've read about things in the Western countries during World War One. Cats or pigeons or animals like that spying apparently for the enemy were also not only put on trial but put to death,
Of
executed.
course, you
So
have to put a cat to death. It's working with the enemy.
yeah, so
Well, I recall my uncle Mukhmar once was very disappointed in a mule that he was using on his farm because the mule refused to work, and so he put it on trial and stoned it to death.
mm,
This is before I was born. Otherwise, I probably would have had to throw stones as well. So yeah, but I mean that's Morocco,
mm,
and unfortunately, has not always been as progressive as it is now.
yeah.
But
Well, interestingly enough, not that we actually care about the hadith, but one of the hadith is that animals cannot be overladen or burdened with loads larger than they can bear or treated.
which is a hadith that's followed by absolutely nobody
Yep.
ever. So why
Yeah.
would they even have that?
I don't know. Yeah,
You know, it's interesting. In a way, humans are animals as well, so we shouldn't overburden one another.
mm-hmm. But we do.
So I regret making you haul those sacks of onions the other day.
No, you
Sorry
don't.
about that.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. No, because they were delicious. But back
Uh,
to the Pakistani baby.
yeah.
The best part of this article is, as always, the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
And people come out with their racism. One guy named Jameis Lon says, ridiculous country, ridiculous religion, and ridiculous people. And Icarus69 replies, any excuse for a xenophobic rant, hey? And then Jameis Lon comes back and says, any reason Pakistan provides about 10 reasons a week. I guess it's true. And then Henry Greenhouse, whose avatar picture is a selfie of a gay man, apparently, says, how ridiculous. Monkeys would have more sense than these lot. So...
Yeah.
And then Icarus69, who seems to be the public defender in this website, says, talking about sense, how much sense is there in using a plural adjective, these, with a singular noun, lot? These lot. Aha. Because he's British, and the British don't actually speak English, they speak British. So, let's see.
I have thoughts on language, which after maybe we can discuss this later on in the show. But I just want to mention that I have thoughts on language.
Really, you have thoughts?
I have thoughts, and I would like to discuss them later on. Okay, but
if you remember.
Yeah, these countries, I think you could take away the Quran, you could take away whatever version of Islam they have, and these exact same stories would be appearing in the news because they're just ridiculous. Their culture's ridiculous.
They're no different than the desert tribes that emerged from those regions thousands of years ago. Yeah. They're the same people with a vestige of Islam behind things that they do. But I don't know. Do you think there's any difference between modern Middle Eastern people in many cases and how their cultures were before the Quran came?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And basically, it's sort of just like taking those ancient cultures and putting new toys in their hands, right? It's just they have modern stuff, but the mentality and the culture, which causes all the problems, is still there. So
yeah, and the people might say, well, yeah, they all are very religious, and shouldn't that be good? But I think they use the Quran and Islam as excuses to get away with things that they want to do. And they say, look, great, now we have a unifying thing that we can use as a defense against other people. We can declare war on them in its name, or we can declare atrocities against us in its name, and things like that. We can make laws in its name and control our people in the name of this book. But they don't seem to actually follow any of the things they should be doing.
Oh, absolutely not.
Any of the good things in there, which are many.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'd like to actually read a verse. Just one really brief verse from the Quran.
Okay, in a scary voice or a normal voice?
I'm gonna read it in a normal voice because it
Okay.
really pertains to this whole situation. Now, which people was the Quran given to? The Arabs, right?
Mm-hmm.
In what language was it given in? Arabic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, there's sort of an argument that the Quran, the Arab people are maybe they're chosen in some way, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yet, chapter 9, verse 97, the Quran says this: the Arabs are the worst in disbelief and hypocrisy, and the most likely to ignore the laws that God has revealed to his messenger. God is omniscient, most wise. And I'll actually read the next verse too, because it also pertains to this. Some Arabs consider their spending to be some Arabs consider their spending in the cause of God to be a loss, and even wait in anticipation that a disaster may hit you. It is they who will incur the worst disaster. God is here, omniscient. So it directly ties into what you just said, right? You have a people who warp what they have to do what they want, and just same. And even though the case with the 9-year-old baby doesn't directly have to do with
A
Islam.
9-month-old baby.
Oh yeah, 9 months old baby.
Even worse, more dangerous.
Even though they're basically just warping their human-made laws to probably gain vengeance on the neighbors or that family, or something happened, like maybe the family said no, we're not going to let you turn off our gas. Maybe the police asked for a bribe, right? Part of that part of the world that country rests in. They're all like that, right? They want bribes, they want money. The family
Sure.
maybe said no. Oh no, okay, well your child just stoned me. And probably not thinking that the kid was 9 months old. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Probably can't even close his hand around a stone, let alone throw one with malice at a police officer.
yeah.
But then again, I don't know.
Yeah, that was actually one of the grandfather's arguments, if I'm not mistaken. The grandfather said that he could barely hold his own bottle of milk. How could he
Indeed.
let alone
Ah,
steps?
did you find the article as well?
Yeah, I looked it up a little bit, and
Hmm.
yeah, so it's just ridiculous, right?
Yep. Yep.
But
Even more ridiculous, I'm going to go on to another story
right.
here, which is kind of interesting. Actually, it's not ridiculous at all. In fact, it's something that I think deserves a lot of talking about. Are you familiar with the Dignitas Institute in Switzerland?
Oh, the one where they kill people, euthanasia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about them?
Well, for me, like, what do you mean? What do I think? Like, as in, do I think it's right or wrong? That kind of angle.
Yeah, like, do you kind of approve of what they're doing, or do you think they should be shut down?
Well, they can't be shut down because people are doing this voluntarily, right? So,
Right.
and a person's will is well, not necessarily their will. Their decision is their decision. Is it wrong? Yes, it is wrong. And for me personally, it's wrong simply because God says it's wrong. But I think it's wrong in a number of other ways, because you have people going there now saying, "Oh, my life's terrible for a reason X. I might as well just kill myself." It's crazy. Like, people are just turning themselves off like a lamp.
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about all this? You think it's a good
I don't
idea?
know. Sure, I approve of it from a non-religious standpoint. I think that people should have that right in certain circumstances. Like you said, if they're turning themselves off like a lamp, and they're like, "Oh, my boyfriend left me. I'm going to go to Dignitas and put myself to death." That's ridiculous. But here's a case in the news I wanted to mention. There was an 89-year-old woman from England who went there, and the reason why she wanted the assisted suicide was for several reasons. One, she felt that she had accomplished pretty much everything that she already wanted to do in her life, so she was quite happy. Two, she was very terrified of the idea of slowly dying in a hospital over a few years in the future, which is pretty much everybody's fate once they reach a certain age. She didn't want that. And thirdly, and most compellingly for her, is because she was fed up with the modern world. She didn't like email or computers or like fast food and things like that. And she said that she was tired of swimming against the current of the world, and
Mm.
she didn't want to do it anymore. And she said that what they say is that you have to adapt or die. And so she feels that at her age she can't adapt because the new age is so different from what she understands. An age of cutting corners and stuff. All the old-fashioned ways are gone. So, and she said that she feels email and things like that are taking the humanity out of human interaction. That people are turning into robots
Mm.
that sit in front of screens. So she didn't want to be involved in that anymore, which is a feeling that I can completely agree with because I'm not really interested in that kind of thing either.
Mm.
Although I'm still alive, I haven't gone to kill myself because I'm not an old lady. But
Mm.
yeah, so I think that in that case, if she wants to do that, then that's up to
Yeah,
her.
yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, it's a person's decision what they want to do.
Yeah.
Do I think her reasoning is incredibly weak? Yeah, yeah, definitely, absolutely. Like, uh, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I think she's contribute. Like part of the reason why she's going is because she doesn't like the new culture, right? The new culture
Mm-hmm.
of things. But at the same time, she's now contributing to another culture of people who are just simply going to give up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not, and it's a slippery slope. She's 89. There's other people who are in their 40s doing this, and now they're even talking about children being able to do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
when does it end? I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's like I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to be taking advantage of this service. That's what I think.
Probably. Well, I mean, most countries are never going to legalize it.
Uh,
Apparently, the day after she did this, David Cameron came out and said that he's definitely against this proposal someone made recently to repeal the laws of assisted suicide in England. So they're not going to introduce that there anytime soon. And America certainly won't. And, Spain certainly won't.
mm,
But Morocco basically, there's a 50-50 chance that you wake up dead every day anyway. So that's part of, well, no, maybe 2080. But anyway, just to be fair. Yeah. One thing I wanted to discuss with you actually, because of course in the Quran it's very clear, you don't kill yourself.
mm,
God has chosen your time for you.
mm.
But I wonder, is that really true anymore? Because we now use technology to keep people alive. And is that interfering perhaps with God's plan? Because we can keep somebody alive
Mm.
even when they're basically dead already. And people now are being forced to sit in these beds connected to machines that just kind of keep their bodies going through the motions long after they should have died already.
Mm.
So I wonder if people are reaching that point, should it be okay to just let them go, right?
Mm.
Because if you unplug that machine, their body is gone. Like 2 hours, they're dead
Mm.
naturally. So does that mean it's their time? Like, what do you think? Keeping people alive artificially, is that against? What do you think
Well,
God's plan is, or do you think that's part of his plan?
well, it's absolutely part of it. When someone kills themselves, it's because it has been. Well, I don't want to go into a huge, giant religious kind of sermon here, but
Mm.
just to keep it simple. I don't. I think we need a religious hour, a chronic hour. Maybe we can add that to the channel or something in the future. But anyway, um, someone who kills themselves does it because that's their fate to do it. Right? It's been
Mm.
recorded for them to do it. Someone whose life is prolonged by a machine is also uh, is the same thing, right? And like if you walk outside your house tomorrow and you get run over by a truck, that's it. It was recorded for that to happen. And it may sound like, oh, well, that seems like really, really arbitrary, right? That seems like it's just shoehorning it into a Quranic concept. But we have to keep in mind, right? As I repeat over and over again, this world, this life, it's a test. It's not real. We interpret it as real through our senses. But all these little things that happen are just a part of a script that we kind of go along with. And our freedom of choice doesn't come from whether or not we have toast and eggs or a bowl of oatmeal. for breakfast in the morning. Our freedom of choice is a simple black or white kind of thing. Do you believe or you don't believe? And as a result of that thinking, that's how the script is written. So these people who kill themselves, someone who believes doesn't kill themselves, right?
Mm.
Is that
Well,
simple?
well, back to what you said. Even the people who believe it's not their choice; it's
Mm-hmm.
scripted that they will believe. Right? I
Mm-hmm.
think you told me about that before. So whether or not you're going to
Mm-hmm.
believe has already been chosen for you by God. Right? You can't just
Okay, yeah.
decide. Is that
It's not chosen for you. It's known, right? Because time,
right?
But again, I could, this is a huge. Like you asked me a question. This is a massive topic. So
Mm.
you know, but going back to the beginning of this story, if someone wants to kill themselves, even though it's already what happens will happen, right? There's no compulsion. We can't infringe upon other people, even if we wanted to. We just don't have the power to anyway, right?
Mm.
So I don't know. I think Dignitas, a place like Dignitas, is just a sign of the times and the state of mankind, where there's actually a place in the world now you can go to check out, and it's okay. Like that's crazy. Like, does anyone think about how crazy that is? It's like a national industry now, or it's going to be.
Mm.
And what country is this in again? It's in Switzerland.
Switzerland,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, can
It'll
you?
probably spread to like Scandinavia next, and places with the most liberal laws.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a big topic, and for me, it stems a lot from what the Quran says. But I don't know. Dignitas to me is just it's scary. But it's not scary. It's just it's I don't know. I don't even know the word for it. It's something that I never thought would exist. I never thought. Like, do you remember that Dr. Kevorkian guy?
Mm-hmm.
When he started doing this for patients, it was like unthinkable, murderer, terrible, and then he was put into prison, I think, or is he dead, alive? I can't remember, but
I can't remember either. Yeah.
I thought that was the end of the issue, but now it's like every year that passes, life just gets crazier and crazier. Dignitas, other things that are going on in the world. I don't know. There's another story just the other day, totally unrelated to what we were just talking to, but a guy was in his truck. He hit a small black kid in the street when he was driving down the street, and he got out of his truck. He's like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" Like he wanted to see if he was okay. This was in Detroit, by the way.
Oh, so he's dead now, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. 12 black people ran up to him and just started beating him to death and stole everything in his truck. So I don't know. It's just the world.
See, I could see maybe an emotional response to watching someone's child get hit by a member of another race,
Mm-hmm.
leading to them beating him. But then the stealing of all of his things in his truck, that doesn't compute. So that's bad to people right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, wanting revenge for watching your child get injured, yeah, kind of a natural thing for people. But yeah, you don't then just loot the pockets of the guy that you've punished.
Mm.
It's criminal.
Well, to extend this even further, Darien Long, right? The shopping mall guard.
Oh yeah, that guy from America. Yeah,
Well, another
what
one.
happened to him?
He was eventually fired from his job. I'll
Oh
just,
yeah,
but
know about that.
probably too much attention, I guess. But anyway, one of his videos, one of the people, I don't know, one of the thugs that shout at him on a daily basis said that after he's dead, after Darien is killed by someone, he's going to be the first one to reach in Darien's pocket to steal his wallet. He actually said that.
What is wrong with those people? They're not even people. I mean, that might make me mean to or outrageous for me to say that on the air, but they're not. They're monsters.
Yeah, I don't know.
Humans do not think, man, this guy's preventing me from breaking the law every day,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't wait till he's dead so I can steal his wallet. Like, what kind of a person would say something like that sincerely, which this man clearly was sincere
Mm-hmm.
about that? I mean, I mean, we say things like that in jest to one another, but that's because we're insane. But I mean, for
Yeah, but
man,
they say it. Yeah, they say it with sincerity. They say it with authentic hatred in their hearts.
and so when he shoots them with a taser, I can't help but feel that he's doing the right thing because
At
if he
least,
didn't
yeah.
shoot them, they probably would have shot him with a gun. So
Well,
yeah,
I wish I could talk more about the whole Quranic angle of all this, but I don't know. I think we may need a second show. We may need
yeah.
a second show.
If we perhaps we should apologize at this point as well. If we spend too much time talking about religion, we may alienate some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we can consider recording another show at some point. Maybe like a monthly feature or something, where we,
Yeah.
for those who are interested, I'm sure probably if we were to have a Quranic hour, the only result is that Muslim people would come and complain about us on our comment section, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that could be entertaining.
All right. Well,
Um,
what else
well,
we got?
let's. There was something kind of like a yeah moment that I thought was good from up in England.
All right.
There were, the palace guards at Buckingham Palace, the Queen's
Mm,
guards with the red uniforms
yeah.
and the silly black microphone hats.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I guess a man, is it a local man in the paper? So I guess he was from around England somewhere. He was apparently shouting at the police officers who were on duty in the area. The police officers, I think, are the ones actually responsible for the defense of the area, for the legal defense. Queen's Guard is ceremonial, and also they're like a military force in case like an army attacks or something. But the police are the ones who actually deal with arrests and stuff. And anyway, some guy was shouting at the police for like 5 minutes, like
Mm,
swearing at them and like, disrupting the whole scene. So one of the Queen's guards detached from his area and marched over and aimed his fixed bayonet rifle at the man's face. And I think
mm,
before he aimed the gun, as he was marching over, the man turned to him and was like, "Oh, so you're a big boy now, huh?" And then the
mm,
guy said, a Scottish guy, I think apparently, he's like, "Yes, I am a big boy," and then aimed his gun at the man's face.
mm.
So I guess the man departed, and fortunately, the Queen's Guard is not receiving any sort of action. Although the newspaper made a point of mentioning that because I guess everyone assumes he's fired, but that's kind of what he's there for, I think. So,
Yeah.
what
Well,
do you think of that? Assholes yelling at police officers with a Queen's Guard pointing a gun at him. Do you think is that kind of a cool, like,
yeah.
justice moment?
I think the gun was the wrong. I don't think aiming a gun at him was the proper response. I think the proper response would be
Shooting him?
well, not just shooting him, but like just giving him a punch to the face or something. Like
Yeah.
something proportional. Because now it looks like the Queen's Guard is ineffective because they didn't really do anything except aim a gun, which anyone can really do, and it looks like they lost their cool. I don't know. I think they should have taken him down and arrested him. They're the guard,
Hmm.
right? They're supposed to protect the palace. So
Well, I think they don't have the authority to arrest people. I think the police officers there have to.
well, that's lame.
So, yeah. What's it say? It clarifies that here. It says that, um, where is it? Yeah, let's see here. The Metropolitan Police are in charge of royal security arrangements, including the surrounding area outside the palace. The Queen's Guard are just ceremonial, but they are active soldiers on a rotating contingent, and they're charged with guarding the palace and members of the royalty and doing sentry duty and patrolling at night and stuff. And they're all veterans of like the Middle East tours and stuff. But
Hmm.
so maybe that's why this guy's been in Afghanistan for a bunch of years and dealt with all the crap there, and he comes back and sees one of his own countrymen acting like a dick, shouting at police officers. Maybe he kind of lost it, so I can understand that.
Yeah.
So
It was a black guy too. Who did it?
it was.
Yep.
Oh, you found out about it?
Yeah.
Oh, the article I have doesn't mention his race or anything about
There's
him. Just
photos.
a man.
There's photos.
Which site did you find it on?
Mail. Let me see.
Oh, I'm reading on the Independent.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Well,
this
anyway.
website, the Daily Mail, of course, would mention that he's black because they want people to be feeling sensationalized, but interesting.
I'm
So
pretty sure if that photo is accurate, I closed it. I
oh,
closed it. Unfortunately, now I can't get it back. But yeah, the photo it showed him in the distance with police around him.
mm,
But yeah, and you know what? There's a lot of problems there with people of color acting poorly, and in many Western European countries, and it's becoming a larger and larger problem, and a great cultural divide is growing. See, they didn't integrate into the country like you did when you came to Spain, right?
well,
You're
I'm still integrating, as you were quite happy to say. But
but these guys they come here to start trouble, to get on welfare and to start trouble, and well, when it reaches the point where they could scream at the Queen's guards, and they get away with it without any charges or anything. Like, what does that say
yeah,
about Western culture? It says it's weak, and that it
yeah,
doesn't deserve respect.
indeed.
Can you imagine if that had happened in Roman times? Someone walked up.
He would have been killed instantly. They probably either crucified or just tried and put to death publicly. But yeah, you don't do that. So, well, I don't know if maybe the Romans wouldn't have put him to death. I mean, if someone ran up and started shouting at the Praetorian Guard or something in Rome,
He would have been
they probably just
punched or
would have
something. Yeah.
beat the shit out of the guy and then tossed him into a ditch somewhere. But yeah, if he was a real threat, I'm sure he would have been killed in seconds. But, so yeah, Western culture pretty weak, pretty weak.
Yeah, and today, if you tried to walk up to the Saudi royal family and scream that, you
They'd be picking up parts of your body off the moon. But well, and here's a contrast about Western culture, though. So you've got a man screaming obscenities at police officers patrolling the royal palace in England, and yet in the United States, a 12-year-old boy says, "We're disappointed in you," to his school principal and gets arrested.
Yeah.
So how do you have such a contrast where a man can stand there shouting at cops and nothing happens, and yet a little boy can say, a polite diplomatic reprimand to his principal and get arrested? How stupid is that, right? I guess they recognize this issue of the culture being weak, and they recognize the problem with people being jerks and shouting at cops, so they want to prevent this from happening ever again by scaring everyone. So that when you're a child, you learn that you can't speak out against anyone or you get arrested. If people have been brought up like that, they'll never shout at the cops, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if those kids at that school would have. It's amazing. One of their friends dies. Suicide. It was a suicide or something, right? Is that why they were?
No, I don't. Well, maybe it was. I can't remember.
They were trying to mourn or something, right?
Yeah, somebody was dead. I don't know if it was an accident or not. Let me check the article here. What was the situation? Oh yeah, it was a suicide. There you go. The student committed suicide over the weekend. Yeah.
Like, there's so many other issues to protest about. Gun control, people starving to death across the world, a president who is a pretty scary guy when it comes to his policies, and yet this is what they choose to do a sit-in over. And part of me wonders if it's not just to get time out of classes.
Probably. I remember when I was in high school. I mean, it was very harsh and brutal. We just went there to study, and it was like I had imagined schools would have been in Spain in the 1920s, probably. So back in the 80s and the 90s, it was like that. Still in Morocco. I mean, teachers were strict. If somebody had committed suicide, they would have been forgotten by everybody immediately. I mean, they would have been shamed, and we never would have. So if somebody was like, "Oh, I want to have a sit-in," like some kind of, what are they, like the hippie movement or something in America, that would not have happened. So
Well,
yeah.
I completely enjoy non-compliance and peaceful protest when it's something like a sit-in, not like when it's people waving signs and screaming and stuff like that. I don't like that. I'm talking Gandhi, total non-compliance, that sort of thing. I like that. I think it works, and it's unfortunate that it's only used by people who want time out of class or people who want to sit downtown smoking drugs and beating pots and pans and
I never understood how it works. There's somebody just peacefully sitting somewhere. How does that cause anyone to change their policy? I mean, Gandhi had a huge following and he
mm,
was quite well known. So I could see, and even he didn't really change anything in the long run. I mean, things are still bad all over the world. And so, I don't know.
well
Yeah.
he didn't change anything because people stopped doing what he taught, right? As soon
Hmm.
as India was free, the first thing after the new government took over, after Gandhi's death and stuff like that, the first thing they did was ban non-compliance, or basically sit-ins and stuff like that. They broke it up immediately. They wouldn't allow it anymore. And you know, you're right. Gandhi had tons and tons of followers, and you basically need a Gandhi to, help bring this about. Those students were just, I don't know, they're not Gandhis, right? They're just there to get some time off to fool around. And the Occupy protests, there was no leader. It was just a group of people, and I agreed with them too. I absolutely agreed with them. But it broke down because there's no organization. Everyone
Hmm.
just it degenerated into just a bunch of people smoking drugs and all
Everything degenerates into that now.
yeah.
It's, I think, with the Occupy movements, I mean, yeah, they'd never had a charismatic leader,
Mm,
which is essential if you ever want to accomplish anything. And yeah, people want excuses to sit around in groups and
mm,
feel like they're being disobedient and then to
exactly.
smoke drugs and to drink. And they're like, hey, look at me, I'm a rebel, or look at me, I'm a liberal or progressive or whatever they want their friends to see them as.
Yeah.
And they accomplish nothing except, pissing a bunch of people off and probably legislation is passed that makes it even more difficult for people to speak out in the future.
Yeah.
They're not helping anybody by living in tent cities in front of courthouses. So yeah.
See, the problem with there's a difference between the Indian people in Gandhi and the people of the West in Occupy, and the difference is this: at the end of the day, the Occupy people go back to their comfortable homes and nothing changes, right? Whereas the people in India, they have nothing to lose, right? They have nothing else. It's either they get involved, heart, mind, and soul, or that's it, right? It's colonial rule forever, oppression, everything
Sure.
else. Like they couldn't even, the salt march, right? Salt. They couldn't even have salt. Like, how do you deny people salt to put on their food, or for ceremonies and stuff like that? Like that's the difference of the situation. Whereas with Occupy, people are bringing them pizza. Like that's not a protest. That's a party, right?
Yeah. They go home and they're like, oh man, that was a hard day of protest. Well, I'm going to have an organic smoothie and a falafel salad. And, it's just ridiculous. So,
Well,
yeah.
if you don't mind, could I share a little bit more about Gandhi and what I've read? I think you might actually find it pretty interesting. Do you want to hear a little bit
All
more?
right. Sure.
We're actually, yeah, we're okay. We're okay for time, I guess. First off, Gandhi spoke about the Jews in Germany in World War II, and he said what they should have done was what they did in India, which was simply to not comply at all. And people said, "Oh, well, they would have just been slaughtered, perhaps even faster." And then Gandhi said, "Well, you know what? 6 million of them were slaughtered anyway. So what was the difference? And at least if they had not complied, they would have aroused the ire of the world so much that A, Germany may have stopped doing it, or B, the world may have got involved sooner." And I thought that was really a really interesting point, because what did the Jews do? They just complied, right? Go to the camps, okay. Here, go into the ghettos, okay. Well,
Step into the oven. Okay. Yeah.
and another thing, when
Well, maybe they didn't say okay to that, but
no, no,
anyway.
but the general sense is, if death was the outcome anyway, they should have just not complied and died where they were standing. At least it would have been for something. And on the other side of the world, where India was concerned, Japan was getting really close to targeting India next, and the British were getting worried. How do we defend India? And Gandhi had a simple solution: just not comply. You don't even need weapons. Give up all the weapons. And when the Japanese got there, they would find no willing workers. They would find just millions of people just sitting in the street doing nothing.
Mm.
And they would either have to just kill everyone in India, which would drive the world insane and, probably bring an end to Japan sooner than what happened, or Japan would just give up and leave. And so interesting, what was this plan that other nations since then have actually attempted to incorporate Gandhi-like defense strategies when they didn't have the weapons to actually defend themselves. And Britain is one of these countries. They were worried about the Soviet Union invading, during the Cold War, and one of the proposals was, just don't comply. When the Soviets get here, we can't defeat the Soviet Union. Their army is too huge. Just simply don't comply, and then they'll have to leave, or they'll just have to, exterminate all of us. And the Russians would not have done that. So it's interesting, and I don't know. I can't even remember what we were originally. Oh, right, the kids at the school. But so
Yeah.
I don't know. I think non-compliance, it's a big deal, and I think it could bring down empires.
I guess the difficulty is getting people to overcome their fear, because I think most people believe that if they resist, that they'll be horribly beaten and abused and
And
maybe killed.
They will.
Which
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess most people don't want to go through that, and they would rather suffer a lifetime of misery than 30 seconds of a beating or possible death for a good cause. And I guess you can't really tell somebody, like, you know what, who cares if you die? Just sit there on the ground until they shoot you, and you'll do something good. I mean, you can't expect somebody to go, oh, well, yeah, that's good. I mean, so.
Well, they have to.
And I like Gandhi's advice with the Jews, right? I mean, going to, just sitting down and not complying. Eventually, the Germans would have tired of killing them and probably would have just given up. And perhaps only 3 million Jews would have died at that point. However, of course, the Jews now, if they heard this, would probably say, well, how dare you, say that people should have just sat down and died willingly. It's better that they went to the camps and struggled and they were resistant in the end. But I don't think they were resistant. They were broken.
Oh, absolutely.
Watching their friends and their family die all around them, being treated like animals by their guards, and they weren't dignified when they died. They were like just like a whisper in the night. Oh, they're dead. So yeah, I mean, dying with some dignity in the first place. And I'm sure there were plenty of Jewish people who did just say, you know what, screw you, and they didn't obey the Germans and were shot. There were the men who were lined up on the wall and shot, as an example, right? I think their sacrifice was greater than those of people who just languished away in a prison for
meekly
years.
Submitted.
Yeah.
In fact, if part of me, I think Gandhi actually went one step further. He said that not only should the Jews not comply, they should hurl themselves off of cliffs to speed up the process.
Hurl themselves off of cliffs.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are any convenient cliffs around, but yeah.
But I think there's a general gist of what Gandhi was saying. He was saying, don't participate in your own slaughter, right? Don't become your enemy.
I think in a way, though, it's easy to say that in retrospect, but I have a feeling that for a lot of the Jewish people at the time, they still had hope that it would end and that there would be a happy ending and that they wouldn't die. So maybe they always thought, well, tomorrow will be the day when the British arrive and free us or something like that. So I guess, yeah, you could tell them, throw yourself off a cliff and just die now instead of in 3 years. But then they would say, well, how do you know I'll be dead in 3 years? I bet you I won't. So it's kind of hard to get people to overcome that. I kind of understand what Gandhi's saying, but I think you can't expect anybody to just abandon all hope and throw themselves off a cliff. I think the process of them losing hope in the prison is a slow thing.
Mm.
It's not like they go there and they go, "Oh, okay, that's it," and they just shut off. I think they resist for a while until they're trodden down. I don't know. It's interesting.
Gandhi,
It would take a pair of cojones to do that. I think to
yeah, that's just it. Gandhi had those.
yeah, he did.
Most people do not. Gandhi was a stretcher bearer in the Boer War. He saw firsthand what happens when people try to fight back or try to do things which, basically turn them into their enemy. And yeah, he was a breed apart from most regular people. But we're at 45 minutes. I think we should roll the die.
Okay, if I can find where the cleaning lady put my die. There it is. Okay. I leave it on my desk, and I guess the cleaning lady is offended by clutter, and it's always somewhere different every time I got it. Okay. Ooh, it's time for a fight. I don't think we had one last week.
I don't believe it.
I've got a fight. Do you have a fight?
I do, but let's hear your fight.
Well, why don't we make two fights and do them quickly?
Okay.
Here's my fight. Gandhi,
Mm-hmm.
which you just inspired me, versus Mother Teresa. Who would win?
I think the physical fight, Mother Teresa would win because Gandhi would not hit anyone under any circumstance.
Okay, I guess that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only thing you could imagine is an upset victory where Mother Teresa, being so advanced in age, hits him and injures herself more than she injures him.
Yeah. In other aspects, I don't know. Mother Teresa was kind of wonky in some respects,
Well, yeah, I mean, she wasn't actually Catholic, first of all. She spent the last 25 years of her career as an atheist. So
yeah,
she lost her faith completely because of all the crap that she had to see every day. This is something I think a lot of people don't really talk about with Mother Teresa. They assume that she went to the grave as the most devout, nun anyone could possibly be. But no, for the last 2 or 3 decades of her life, she was an atheist. She believed that God was not real. So I guess you can't say whose faith is greatest. So.
Well, Gandhi believed in God, not like a God specific to a religion, but God as in a creator, and he often talked about God. So I think, faith-wise, Gandhi.
I guess he would have been.
And he did say, he wasn't talking about God, but he was saying, I like Christianity, but I don't like Christians. Well, how's that saying go? Basically,
Yeah.
So
I think
you didn't like religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think who helped more people?
Oh, Gandhi.
Yeah.
Gandhi. In fact, if I were to have a policy of how to engage opponents, I would say Gandhi probably has influenced, like a human as a human. Gandhi probably has influenced me the most, simply because non-compliance is just so profound that it could really change the world if people had the courage for it. So I would definitely say he wins this one. I'm not.
I guess he's more deserving of being a posthumous saint than Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
I think perhaps there should be some kind of a system of recognizing saints in a kind of a non-religious sense, just like remembering the best people of the world as some kind of greater being. Gandhi's name, I mean, Gandhi is a one-word name. I mean, he'll always be remembered. I think like the antithesis of Hitler, right? I mean, no, he'll be remembered just like Hitler, but for the opposite reasons. So
yeah, precisely.
But to elevate him to like some kind of category, I think would be nice gesture to say, he is I don't know, something. I guess it's not necessary. But,
Gandhi was essentially an Indian version of Jesus, right? When you think about it.
Yeah.
The way
you think, yeah. Do you think there's any chance that he could have in some way been a messenger of some sort?
He may have been. Yeah, he may have been.
Yeah. It's worth investigating.
Yeah. It really is. Because yeah, the way he acted and stuff like that, he basically followed things almost to a T.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. It is actually worth examining more, I
Hmm.
think. Okay, you ready for my fight?
Well, yeah. So I guess Gandhi wins. Mother
Oh
Teresa,
yeah,
yeah, she's knocked out in the first round. Okay, what's your fight? I'm sure this will be more fair.
Kim Jong Un versus Shinzo Abe.
Oh man,
Okay,
that's a good fight,
and for
and that's
those
a fight people would like to see too.
yeah, and for those who aren't familiar with these two, Kim Jong Un is the dictator of North Korea, or what the general, the great general is his title, I think.
The dear leader, the
Yeah,
great general. I think he's also the president, but I
yeah.
think that's just like for nonsense.
And then Shinzo Abe is the right wing prime minister, I believe, of Japan.
Yeah,
Incredibly right wing. And okay, so who wins in the fist fight?
in the fist fight. Well, I don't know. Kim Jong Un is like half the age of Shinzo Abe, but he's also a fat guy.
Yeah, yes.
So I don't know. He's 30, I think,
Yeah,
or 31, something like that.
I don't know if I can see him going around punching people though. He doesn't. He seems like one of those.
He has people,
But yeah,
throw his punches for him.
yeah.
He would just like point, and three men would punch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Does he have any kind of martial background?
Yeah, he studied at the war college in Pyongyang. But I don't know if that translates into actual fighting ability. Like
He's probably just playing chess or something
yeah.
with lives of men. So yeah, I don't imagine that he's much of a fighter. I don't know if Shinzo Abe is much of a fighter. He's an old man. He's a politician. He's a conservative politician.
And he poops blood, doesn't he?
What?
I'm pretty sure he has Crohn's disease or something. And he talked about how
Yeah, he resigned during
yeah.
his first stint as prime minister because of his illness.
And he said how
Uh,
he would have to get up in the middle of the night and poop blood, which is unfortunate. So I think we're going to put the fist fight to Kim Jong Un.
yeah, he's younger and he's not pooping blood. So okay, so, yeah. And I think also Shinzo Abe would probably not be willing to throw a punch until he first filled out the requisite paperwork. So
Yeah.
I think that too would probably get in the way. Okay, what's the next category then?
Who's the better leader, and why? And this has to be a good why. It can't just be North Korea. Oh, blah blah blah. It's got to be. I need a robust answer for this.
Well, there goes my answer then. Okay. Uh, that is a good question. I don't know. Let's see here. Well, I think Abe is famous for his Abenomics, his economic policy that appears to have been strengthening the Japanese economy recently. So I think he is well liked by a lot of the older business people in Japan for that. He seems to be making some kind of difference. However, is he a leader? I don't think he inspires loyalty in anybody. I think they respect him as a bureaucrat and that he's doing a decent job of managing things, or reasonable job anyway. But is he like? Do people go out in the streets and go like, "Oh, Shinzo Abe," and they love him? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not there, so I can't say for sure. And I mean, it's been a while since I visited Japan, and he wasn't in power at the point. But Kim Jong Un is a dictator, and yet the people are maybe secretly in their innermost, deepest, quietest secret thoughts hate his guts, but most of them love him with the fanaticism of like an evangelical and how he loves Jesus. I mean, it's I think like they're brainwashed, obviously, but I mean, isn't that the sign kind of an effective leader? Somebody who can convince everybody to love him, even when they doubt he's good.
But
I don't know.
a benevolent dictator. I don't know if Kim Jong Un can be considered a benevolent dictator, but then again,
I don't know.
Do we really know what's actually going on in North Korea? Because
Well,
all we
we
get
know
are,
all the stories
yeah,
from Americans and things like
and
that.
South
I
Koreans,
don't.
which are dubious.
Yeah,
So, oh,
I don't know. I think he's a better leader because people follow him blindly
mm,
and are willing to do whatever he says, and they're loyal to him. I think Shinzo Abe is a better politician
mm,
and probably a better administrator, but that doesn't mean he's a better leader, which was your question. So I'm going to go with Kim Jong Un as the better leader because he is charismatic in his own way and he's inspired people, probably mostly through fear. But I mean, he's got that fear there, so people will follow him. So I'm going to give him the. Do you agree?
yeah, I definitely agree. I just wanted to ask though about Abe and his economics. What do people think about the rise in the consumption tax?
Oh, I was reading about that a while ago on a forum. And it was interesting. People were panicking on March 31st. They were going out to supermarkets and buying all the things off the shelves to avoid having to pay an additional 3% tomorrow,
Mm,
which I think is pretty dumb. I mean, let's run around for 5 hours so we can save 300 yen.
mm,
I would gladly spend €3 for the convenience of not having to do that for 4 hours.
mm,
I don't know. I think people understand from what I'm getting from the online people from Japan, and a lot of them are really right wing and they're nuts, but they seem to be for it because the 5% consumption tax of Japan was just not sustainable. I mean, the amount of old people that the country is supporting
mm,
and all the cost of their transit systems, it's just not sustainable. So it needs to go up probably to 20%. Some people have been saying eventually
mm,
that might be enough to pay for all the things that they need. So a tiny increase. I think most people have accepted that it's inevitable and it's not so bad. Nobody likes more tax, of course, but I
mm.
mean, I think they see the need. So I don't think there's going to be any protest or
Oh.
unhappiness over it. But then again, I mean, what do I know? I'm not Japanese.
Whose system is superior, and why?
What do you mean by system?
Between North Korea and Japan.
Like their government system?
Yeah, just the economic system.
I don't know. I mean, Japan is one of the world's strongest economies.
Mm,
They're influential. They produce goods and services that are in high demand. North Korea doesn't even really involve itself in international trade very much, except with China, and
mm,
I think they do a bit of trade with South Korea, but not very much, do they?
yeah.
I mean, they want economic aid from other countries, so I don't think their economics in North Korea are particularly strong.
Mm.
I mean, they claim to be communist, don't they? Or are they just like clinging to all the bad parts of communism? I don't know, because I never hear any good things about people have no freedom there. They can't afford to, even their soldiers can't afford to eat enough food. And a true communist country would provide enough food for everybody. So,
Yeah.
no.
See, I don't know. They talk about that. They talk about that a lot. But if that were true, why is North Korea's population constantly growing? And I've seen tourist snapshots out of Pyongyang and elsewhere, stuff like that, and it shows soldiers buying ice cream and stuff like that. So I don't know. I wish we could get an accurate picture of what's going on there, because on one hand you have propaganda from the United States, and then on the other hand you have propaganda out of Pyongyang, which is obviously not true, right? Everyone
Yeah.
isn't living in a glorious workers' paradise with everything they
Yeah.
need. So
I've heard stories of like travelers who've gone there and saying that they put on a show for
mm,
visitors. So those soldiers buying ice cream, like if you went back tomorrow, there probably wouldn't be an ice cream
yeah,
stand there at all. So
yeah.
it's
It's
probably
probably not
just like
actually ice cream. It's just like a plastic thing that they.
the soldier is just happily licking a plastic mold, like, knowing that tomorrow for his services, his family will receive a new bowl or something like that. But I don't know.
Huh.
I think Japan's system is better simply
Mm,
because Japan doesn't really have any poverty compared to most Western countries like America or
mm,
certainly Spain. I mean, pretty much everybody in Japan is middle class. I mean, if you go there, you do see homeless people,
Mm,
but in Tokyo, for example, but considering the population of Tokyo, the number of homeless people is minuscule.
mm,
Compared to like if you went to Madrid, for example, you'll just find legions of homeless at night
yeah.
in the parks and on the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people and families living below poverty, but I think
Mm,
most people make a livable salary in Japan, and that they don't have any ghettos, they don't have any poor districts in their
yeah.
cities, they don't have any dangerous neighborhoods or anything like that. So I
Mm,
think I don't know. I'm going to go with Japan's system being better.
mm. Okay.
What do you think?
Uh, it seems that way. I just don't know if it's because, if its system is actually better or if it's because North Korea is naturally a poor country and
Mm,
if you had a capitalist system in North Korea, would the situation be any different? Maybe a little bit
I don't
different.
know.
I don't know.
I think more information on North Korea is needed to
Yeah,
give a
I agree.
concrete answer. There's sadly not enough.
Mm.
Any North Korean politicians listening to this podcast, please fill us in. All right, I think we should roll another die.
Yeah, sure.
We're running out of time. What do we got? 15 minutes?
Yeah,
10
we
minutes?
have time for one more die roll.
Okay. Another fight. 1 second. Good. Perfect. An Inquisition, because we've
Okay.
been preparing for that
Yes, we
today.
have.
I think we each have one, so let's do one quickly. You gave me permission to use your idea as my own.
Well,
So
it was your idea, wasn't
was it my idea? Whose idea was it?
it?
Was it the cleaning lady's idea? I can't remember. What was the idea? Oh yeah. Okay. So, what would you do if you found out that a good friend of yours that you've known for decades was actually a robot sent to spy on you? And you discovered this through some sort of surprise technical breakdown you witnessed suddenly. What would you do? How would you feel?
That would be both horrifying and totally awesome. It'd be horrifying because, you're a robot. I'm going to assume it's you for the sake of this
Yeah,
conversation.
right. Sure.
You're a robot. I'm like, what? And also, how was someone able to create a robot so perfect that it was able to actually, function as an actual human being for, 20 years?
And age gradually for 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the awesome part comes in because who built you? Did an alien intelligence build you? Did you build yourself? Are robots able to construct like humans? Is there
God, I hope not.
is there another race, out there that's machine like? Which all these questions, science fiction and all this stuff would come into my mind. I'd have to fix you somehow, right? Because you're broken. So I'd have to figure out how to fix you. I don't know how I'd do that.
Mm.
I'd probably just repeatedly hit you in the head with a metal rod until.
Thanks.
you felt
What
better.
would happen though if you repaired me and then some sort of subroutine was triggered where it's like, so you've discovered the truth, now you must die? That would.
Well,
But then again, you're the one holding the metal rod, so
yeah,
perhaps.
sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be a crazy scenario to suddenly discover someone is a robot?
Mm.
There'd be so many questions.
To make it even crazier, what would you do if you discovered that your father is a robot? I mean, you've known him your entire life, and suddenly he's a robot.
That would mean that I might be a robot myself.
Well, your parentage would then be at question, I suppose. But
I'd have to check to see if I was a robot because I have no proof of that right now, right? I only assume that I'm not a robot.
haven't you been sick and injured enough that you are probably a biological organism at this point?
What if that was just programmed into me to simulate humanity?
That would be pretty advanced programming.
Wow, this is a pretty deep question.
What if all of our listeners right now are robots and we're the only humans?
Then we have a problem.
Or what if they're the only humans? Well, actually, wait a minute. We're the only robots, the two of us. That could be interesting. Are you a robot?
I don't No, no.
Hmm. All right. Well,
Well,
that would be
in a sense, we are machines. We just don't have metal components. That's all.
that's right. As Captain Picard said in an episode of The Next Generation, I don't know if you ever saw that episode where Data was on trial. Did you ever see that one?
No, I haven't.
Basically, oh, this is a good episode. I think you should watch this sometime.
Right.
Basically, I guess you could say an executive or something from the Federation came onto the Enterprise and said, basically something along the lines. I'm not going to go into it too much, but Data, being a machine, is the property of the Federation, and he must return to Earth and be studied so that the Federation can mass produce Datas. And because the amount of advantage they would have to having a Data on every ship would be tremendous. And Data kind of objected to the idea of being property, and he didn't want to go. Well, he didn't have emotions at the time, but I think he logically he should remain on the Enterprise. Picard had a big problem with Data going back to Earth to be dissected and mass produced, and so he was arguing with this judge or something like that who believed, and this prosecutor who believed, of course, that Data was just a mindless machine, and he was saying, are not we machines of flesh? What's the difference between a sentient mechanical machine and a sentient biological machine? And eventually he made them see his point, and Data was recognized as a human, or as a person anyway, as a sentient life form, as his own race, in fact, is the only, well, not the only member, but his brother and that kid that he created in one episode, but his own race of sentient machines. So yeah, I think you'd enjoy that episode.
Yeah, I think so too.
The name for it. It's one of the best Star Trek episodes of any series ever made. It's epic. So,
when Voyager was propelled into the Delta Quadrant, did a machine do that?
No, it was like a super old alien entity called the Caretaker.
Oh, okay.
He was like some kind of amoebic energy life form or something, like way more evolved than we are. And he was trying to find something. I think his mate or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was pulling ships and people from all over the galaxy there to see if they were the right. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but he used a machine to do it. But he was a. They show him when he dies at the end of the episode, and he like reverts to some kind of like crystal or something. I think after, I don't know. It's interesting. A life form beyond our comprehension.
Very very interesting.
Did you have an Inquisition for me to cap off the end of the night?
Let me think. Okay, I got one, a quick one. You've been banished from the surface of the Earth, and you have to live somewhere else in the universe. Where do you live, and why?
I don't think I can live anywhere else.
Well, let's say you could. Let's say you had the ability to.
Well, the surface of the Earth, does that include subterranean Earth?
Yeah, you gotta leave the planet.
Okay, the planet. Yeah. So, man, what dick could... Okay. Anywhere in the universe, well, I don't really know enough about the universe to know any desirable other places. There aren't any other habitable worlds that we know of. I don't want to live in like a volcanic wasteland or a frozen rock. Anywhere in the universe.
Would you...
Could it be said that heaven is in the universe?
No.
Because okay.
That'd be an easy answer. It has to be within our universe.
Okay, so...
And besides, the Quran states that if you attempt to leave this universe, you'll be struck down with projectiles. So, probably not a good idea to attempt to leave.
I don't know if I can answer that because I don't think there's anyone compelling in the universe for me to go except like empty dead worlds and gas giants and stuff.
Okay, well, would you want to not settle anywhere and just like explore? Like if you had like a Federation starship, would you?
A Federation starship crewed by myself?
Yeah,
that would end well. I'd probably get 3 minutes into my journey before
Okay,
it would explode.
I'm gonna rephrase the question. You you get a starship, okay?
Mm.
You have been banished from Earth. You've been dispatched from the Earth, okay? You get a starship. You get to pick a crew from anyone on the Earth. Who would you pick as a crew to take with you?
I think I'd choose you, yourself,
All right.
because I know you and I enjoy our conversations. So most other people, I think I would probably grow to hate very quickly if I was
Mm.
confined with them. But then again, I don't know if you have any useful skills for survival in space. So that might not be very helpful in the long run. If I say,
Hey, this is thick. I just saved you from attempting to leave the universe where you'd be destroyed, right?
oh, okay,
So there you
so
go.
then you're like the ship's wizard then, so
The ship's
dispensing
wizard.
advice. Okay, ship's wizard. I do need the wizard. So if I said to you, Spaniard, we're on a collision course with a neutron star. What should I do? You might not be able to help us out there. But
No.
if I said, should we leave the fabric of space and time behind us? You would be able to advise me.
There you go. See?
So I can only take one person.
No, you can take a whole crew.
Oh, a whole crew. Okay. Well, I take you just because whatever my fate is, whatever horrible death I have, I want you to share in it.
Oh, wonderful.
I would probably take my wife with me because I'd kind of be a jerk if I didn't. I would take. I would take Sir Patrick Stewart, and I'd make him wear the Captain Picard uniform. No, I wouldn't. But no, I wouldn't take Stewart. He's an actor. I don't think. I don't know. I would want professionals. Yeah, I don't think he'd be very happy being forced to come along. I would want professionals like military professionals and engineers and scientists and things like that. I would probably invite Stephen Hawking because I think he would snap up that opportunity in a moment, and having his brain on board would be very useful. And also, if I had a starship, I would assume that it would have the capabilities of maybe helping him get a little better too. It's kind of a shame that he's stuck in his body like that. So I would take Stephen Hawking along, because then I could ask him, what do I do about the neutron star? He would probably know, although it would take him like 45 minutes to type out a response, so that might not really actually be that helpful, because he told some people once how long it takes him to write a response, and when you see him on interviews and he's asked a question, he's pre-prepared his answers for 3 hours beforehand, because otherwise it's just an hour of awkward silence as people wait for him to muscle twitch his face into a cognitive response on his computer. So yeah, I would leave him a message basically yeah, we've got this problem. Can you get back to me in a couple of hours? But I want him there. I'd want him there because he's brilliant. I don't know. I'd want. See, all I can say is the category of people I want to bring. I don't know enough people by name that I can single them out and be like, okay, I want this doctor or this engineer on board. I would want an entertainer of some sort on board. Somebody who I enjoy very much.
Tom Green.
Tom Green, the ship's fool,
yeah.
just sitting in a giant high chair on the bridge, just shut.
He would get old really quick.
He would get old. I would want a diplomat, and I would bring Tom Cruise for that role because he's very charismatic, and also I just have a feeling that having Tom Cruise on board would be beneficial in some way. Although he'd probably usurp command from me within 2 seconds of coming on board. But then again, having Captain Tom Cruise on the ship would be an adventure in and of itself. So I would definitely want him there. I don't know. Who do you think we should bring on the ship? Because you're involved now.
Well, Girls' Generation, of course, because we need music, right?
Of course, music. You need music. That's why you want Girls' Generation. Come on, no one's buying it. The man who wants to plant hyoyan seeds on a deserted island does not care about music.
Come on, music.
All right, fine. For quote unquote music, we'll invite Girls' Generation on board.
Who else? Who else? You know what? I also maybe the Dalai Lama. That'd
Hmm.
be interesting.
Why the Dalai Lama?
Just for interesting conversation, tidbits of wisdom, things like that.
He would also be a pretty good person to be a diplomat, right? I
Yeah.
mean, first contact situations. I would kind of want him representing humanity more than most other people because he's nice.
Mm.
And instead of having like Vladimir Putin on board or something like that, that'd be ridiculous.
uh,
Uh,
well, Vlad could be one of the security. I guess he knows judo.
yeah,
So
that's true. I don't think he would really be willing to just be our security guards.
no,
Out in space.
he and Tom Cruise would battle for supremacy of the ship.
Indeed, which would make for an excellent story or movie. Vlad Putin versus Tom Cruise aboard the starship of two idiots from Spain. Yeah,
Yeah, our crew is absolutely horrible. we would probably not even leave the solar system.
I think the only person on board with any merit so far, aside from the Dalai Lama, would be Stephen Hawking,
Yeah.
and yet he's not actually physically capable of doing much except sitting there giving advice. So
Yeah.
we would need some other people. I don't know, that Neil deGrasse Tyson guy, I don't know if he's just a mouthpiece for science or not. I'd imagine he's actually quite brilliant, so he might be a good guy to have along. He knows a lot about astronomy, from what I know.
He's really obnoxious, though. But
Yeah, he is. What also obnoxious is the fan base that he has on the internet.
Yeah.
I would want to resurrect some people. Can I do that?
You can.
Carl Sagan.
Okay.
That man was not obnoxious.
No,
and
he
knew a
wasn't.
lot about astronomy. So Carl Sagan,
Okay.
Gene Roddenberry, I would want him on board because he's a visionary.
Yeah.
And a lot of the technology and stuff that we have now is something that he thought about in some way for Star Trek.
Leonardo da Vinci would need to be
Leonardo
on
da
board.
Vinci would definitely need to be on board. And he would probably take like an hour to look at the advanced systems and would be like, yeah, I think I can make this better.
Yeah.
My only concern is that he'd never actually finish any of his projects, but it'd be good to have him there. I would want, I don't know, go back in time a bit more and bring Hippocrates on board and Aristotle and Socrates and some of the ancient philosophers and mathematicians, because I think that they deserve to see what's out there because of all the contributions they made to human learning. That to bring them into space, be like, hey guys, this is what's out there. I think they would love that, and they'd have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
They're intelligent enough. I don't think they'd piss themselves in fear over a spaceship. They'd probably just be like, oh, no.
Yeah, they'd probably be like, what is this? And then after a while they would.
I would want Confucius on board for his wisdom. So having a crew consisting of the Dalai Lama and Confucius and Carl Sagan, Stephen Hawking, all the classical Greek philosophers, Leonardo da Vinci, Girls' Generation, who of course is up there in the same caliber. I can't even say that with a straight face, but anyway. And
Patrick Stewart, he'd want to come.
Yeah, I think he'd enjoy that. I'd bring him along. His good friend Sir Ian McKellen, because the two of them could put on stage plays for our enjoyment.
Yeah, they could.
And that would be great. I'm trying to think if there's one more person that I'd want on board, but I don't know. Do you have any other suggestions?
If we could resurrect anybody, I'd bring Abraham and Jesus on board. I think that would round out.
Do you think God would be willing to lend Abraham and Jesus to us for our own? How do we do that? Do we just call him? We're like, we'd like to rent Jesus for a space voyage. Is he available? God would be like, whoa, his rates have gone up.
Well, we're already resurrecting like Aristotle and stuff. So
yeah, okay, yeah, I think. I don't know if it would be cheating though to have those guys along, but
we need some military men. I think Alexander the Great would have to be.
Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar or Julius Caesar.
Yeah, and
revered Alexander. They'd work well together.
We'd have to have him on board because it's the Navy after all. So
General George S. Patton to make all the crazy decisions no one wants to make. Admiral Yamamoto.
Yep.
because people might think, oh no, you can't mention a Japanese World War II guy, but Admiral Yamamoto was a brilliant man,
Yeah. George
and he was
Washington.
actually a nice guy. George Washington, yes, yes, yes,
So,
and yeah, I think we've got quite a few. Then again, then again, if we have a military consisting of like 10 of the greatest minds in history, they're just going to spend time disagreeing with each other's tactics and strategies. I don't know if they'd ever be able to work together. I would want like the British Gurkha rifles from like the late 19th
mm,
century on board as like our defense regiment, but with like no phasers and stuff, because I wouldn't want to screw with them.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
uh,
The ship would just be constant civil war as it drifted through space lifelessly. People
indeed,
fighting room to room.
no, Vladimir Putin and Tom Cruise in a fist fight as Ulysses S. Grant like dodges out of the way. But okay, one final thing: you're allowed to bring one animal companion on board. What would you bring?
A tiny dog, of
A
course.
tiny dog, of course, and I would bring a tiny dog, and then the two tiny dogs would probably take over the ship.
They probably would, and
Yeah.
that would be that. An alien race would encounter our ship, and there'd be no one left alive on board except the two tiny dogs.
The SS Bedlam would be the only appropriate name for our ship, I think.
The alien ship would just look to the right and see a tiny bone floating beside them in deep space, and they would break into a nervous sweat.
Indeed. Well, I think there'd be one human survivor, probably Stephen Hawking, and the dogs would just be like perched on his lap.
Yeah.
And, um,
Oh, ridiculous.
excellent. Yes, that's that.
Stop chewing on my limbs.
No, Mr. Fluffy, your quantum mathematics are flawed. Um,
Uh,
I'm sure Stephen Hawking would enjoy that. Anyway, I guess, all right.
yeah,
So the answer to any difficult question involving us is always nonsense. So it's
yeah,
always enjoyable.
it is. Okay, we should
Uh,
round up the show because
all right.
run a bit long, but that's okay. We will see all of you next week with more stories, more news, and more silliness.
Indeed.
This has been the Internet Spaniards. I am the Internet
Uh,
Spaniards. sorry,
hey,
sorry,
wait a minute.
you're fired, and this
Oh,
is going to
crap.
be a racially dominated show.
All right. Well, this is my last episode, and I'll grow a mustache disguise and come back next week. I mean, no, I won't.
Oh, the Internet Spaniards, hilarious. Okay, this has been the Internet Paladins, and I am the Spaniard,
And I am the Spaniard.
and we will see you soon.
Indeed.